It's a special episode of Big Apple Hockey because, of course, Pittsburgh Penguins had to make some news today, and it can't wait to break all this down. Hoping to have Mr. Anthony LaRocco join me. I will not have Mr. John Falkowski on with me, as he is going to be attending Metallica tonight, and you can only hope that they're going to put on a great show. Well, it's Metallica. Come on. They always put on a great show. However, everybody, once again, I am Mark Williams for Big Apple Hockey. And I would love to call this the A block, but this is like beyond what the A block is. Tectonic plates shifted in the NHL today as Erik Karlsson went to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Rem Pitlick, I don't even know how to pronounce that other guy's name. I don't even know if I'm going to see much of him. And a third-round pick from the San Jose Sharks in 2026. So that's what went. It was a 3-team trade. The big news, of course, is Karlsson. We're going to be covering Karlsson the entire time. San Jose sent Michael Granlund, Jan Ruda, and Mike Hoffman. That was, I think, from Montreal was Mike Hoffman. And the Penguins' first-round pick next year. It is top 10 protected. That is an important thing. When the Penguins, I don't know how good this team is going to be. We're gonna get into that in a second. And the Montreal Canadiens will get the Penguins' second-round pick in 2025. Jeff Petrie, Casey DeSmith, and Nathan Legary. All right. Breaking this down, I mean, I looked at this trade, everybody, and we know that this is potentially was happening for a while. And Anthony broke the whole, this trade can happen this weekend from his hot tub. But Erik Karlsson last year became the sixth defenseman, I think it was, to score 100 points in a season. And it's actually, I think it's a fifth. Bobby Orr, Brian Leach, Ray Bourque, Paul Coffey, and Al McInnes is sixth. Okay, good. So we got them all. But Erik Karlsson, 101 points. And good. Actually, Anthony will be joining me any minutes. So Erik Karlsson signed through 2027. He's 33 years old right now. There is money. I think there's money that was retained. That's an important factor in all of this. I didn't have time to get it all down. But if you look at the Pittsburgh Penguins roster, because I have to ask this question, and it's in it's right now in the poll. Are the Pittsburgh Penguins a playoff team? I'll be asking Mr. Anthony LaRocco about that in a few minutes. And there's just a lot of numbers that you're going to have to break down in this trade because I just don't see it. Look at the Pittsburgh Penguins last year. I'm going to try to kill just another second. Well, Anthony's coming on any moment to discuss this trade with us. And Anthony, you ready?
The graduate classes?
Okay. As soon as he's ready, I'll switch the view out of this. But one question you have to ask is, are the Penguins a playoff team? They missed the playoffs for the first time since Sidney Crosby's rookie season. And that is not something that a team with this short of a window, they're a win-now team. They have 12 players over the age of 30. 12. That's not going to help in an NHL where you need to get younger and faster, especially now. You look at the Pittsburgh Penguins last year. They were -2 in goals for versus goals against. They had similar numbers for goals for the year before. I believe it was 278, and their goals against was actually pretty good. You know Mike Sullivan's a good coach. But just what is like, what are the Penguins trying to do right here? These were their goals for per game last season, and their goals against 3.18, goals for per game, 3.21 goals against per game. And their power play was already 14th in the league. You got Sidney Crosby on it. What is exactly that power play going to look like? We're going to take a look at daily faceoff. But the first things first, just and I'm asking you guys right now, throw it down in the chat. What do you guys think? Are the Pittsburgh Penguins a playoff team right now, I'm leaning towards no. They're still not. There's still a lot of problems that they have. How we doing, Willie? How's everything going? And Alon is saying that Karlsson, Letang, Malkin, Gensel, and that is a hell of a power play. That is a hell of a power play. I agree with you on that. But I mean, Malkin, Letang, and Malkin, Letang, and Karlsson, what really do they do differently from each other? And that's a question I have. Anthony is trying to come on right now. All right. And yeah, so as the beautiful Maria Cosenza is saying that I hope not. And Willie, you're right about this. 100-point defenseman, that's a minus 26. And thank you very much. You're leading me right into this point right now, which Erik Karlsson last year, look, the guy had one of the best seasons ever in defenseman history. Guaranteed. Look at, if you look at all the highest scoring points for a defenseman, he's up there. He's, like I said, 6 defensemen to get to 100 points. But a minus 26? The number one problem right now with the Penguins is that they can't keep the puck out of the net. This is ridiculous. They're trying to win with offense. Let's go to daily faceoff. Let's look at that defense. Because let me ask you guys, is this a defense that scares you? What's the first things first? Here are their forward lines. And their forward lines, everybody's looking good. Obviously, I actually momentarily forgot about Noel Achari that went there, and Lars Eller, and Jeff Carter now full-time on the wing. Riley Smith is there. Great. And this team would be stacked if it was 2017. I mean, I'm not really convinced on it. I mean, Penguins fans, if you're in the chat, please let me know. Are you guys in love with this trade? So let's go down to the defense. They traded Jan Ruda in this deal. So you'd have to be super stoked to see Ryan Graves and Chris Letang, Marcus Pettersson and Erik Karlsson, okay, and P.O. Joseph and Chad Ruedel. It's just, what? I mean, and of course, that power play looks great. But how much better really is that power play going to be? I mean, there's so many teams that try this. They try to stack this team, and they try to have this super team philosophy. And the Penguins, I think they needed to dumb it down a little bit more, because the Penguins, now granted, the last time this happened was with Phil Kessel. And I wondered, how are they going to fit Phil Kessel in? And he fit like a glove. They won 2 Stanley Cups. So let's go over. We have Statboy Steven in the chat right now. Dominic is saying, no, their defense is too weak, and you're right about it. Because here's another thing. And I made this comparison earlier, and a friend of mine corrected me. You have Tristan Jarry in net. First off, by the way, Casey Smith was pretty solid for him. But you have Tristan Jarry in net. And Tristan Jarry, he's sort of like Mark Sanchez as a quarterback. Even when he's doing good, you just know that there's a mistake coming, and then it happens. So, and if that's too a little bit too harsh than Mark Sanchez, I'm sorry, but that is who Tristan Jarry is. Tristan Jarry is the goalie that lets up the goal and makes the entire bench roll their eyes back. Like we're up 2-1, and you just let that one in. So you're hanging your hat on Tristan Jarry. I really hope there's another all-star appearance in the first half, because he crumbles and folds like a deck chair in the second half. So let's get that one out. Because let's not forget, Game 7 versus the New York Rangers 2 years ago, that Jarry and the Penguins took the lead in the second period, and then puck bounces off a skate right in the back of the net. That you got to make a save at some point. And Tristan Jarry, and whether or not it's fair or unfair, everybody, and if you want to say I'm being unfair, fine. Ever since that pass to Josh Bailey, and it was a pass to Josh Bailey. He had money on the Islanders in that series, as far as I'm concerned. This is ridiculous. And But Steven's saying Karlsson does not make the Pittsburgh Penguins a playoff team. They gave up defense, Petrie, and offense for Karlsson. And when they needed to get better defensively, absolutely. They need to get better defensively. They can't keep the puck out of their own net. Let me just throw this one out at everybody. The ages for this team in your core players, these are the players you're counting 100% on. Crosby, 35, Malkin, 37, Rust, 31, Raquel, 30. And then 38. I don't know if they're really counting on Jeff Carter. He's almost my age. And then Erik Karlsson, 33, and Chris Letang, 36. You got to be kidding me. You absolutely right now. If I was, look, how are you, Penguins fans? Please let me know, because if I'm wrong on this, I'm wrong. Problem is, I'm not. And as Steven also went on to say, also Ryan Graves isn't going to pair well with either Letang or Karlsson. Scott was saying, Mark, I'm telling you this one time and one time only. If I ever see Anthony in a hot tub again, we're going to have issues. You know what? Sometimes he has his porch talk. That was Anthony's hot tub talk. Jeremy's saying, didn't work in San Jose with Burns. Can't see it working with Letang. Absolutely. And Alana's saying, as an Islander fan, I just worry that we don't score enough. Worry about the Devs, Canes, and the Rangers. Still pissed that we didn't give VT 1 for 5. Rather, having mismatched Lee for 3 for 21. All right. But by the way, Alan, you're saying it right there, and I agree with you, because one of those things I said is, what teams should be worried about this acquisition? And there's a lot of teams I'm just going, And let's get back to some of the comments right now. Because look, if you're the New York Islanders, and I was saying this earlier, having a conversation about this, in any of these situations, you worry about keeping the puck out of the net, not how you're going to put it in. There's more of a guarantee of keeping the puck out of the net than it is to get it in. Because what happens if you run into a hot goalie? Pittsburgh, that you did against the Senators, or you go into Chicago, you let up a bad goal, the next thing you know, you're out of the playoffs. By the way, Chicago says thank you for Connor Bedard. And also Columbus is real happy about that as well. Although they love Adam Fantilli, and they should, because wow, that's a hell of a player that fell into their lap. Anyway, I mean, going back to some of these, Karlsson was not a minus player at even strength, to be honest. A lot of his minuses were goals against when the goalie was pulled. Fine, but there's still goals. But Karlsson doesn't even feel a need for them. No, he doesn't. And you're right about that, Steven. Because where's Letang going on that power play? So now Letang off power play 1, we'll just say, if that's the case, because I don't know many teams that run 2 defensemen on power play 1 now. And the other thing is, how's Karlsson's foot? Has anybody gone over that? How Karlsson's foot's doing? I mean, yeah, he looked great last season. Look, I'm not ripping Erik Karlsson, but you're putting on a hefty price tag on this. So, and Steven goes on to say, Karlsson isn't getting first power play minutes over Letang, so his production will take a hit. No, he's getting first power play minutes. I got it. He's definitely doing that. And Petrie would not. Letang does. Either way, they won't get the combined totals from the last 2 seasons. Yeah. And yeah, Willie, you're right about that one. That's one injury-prone team. And is Karlsson back again to Steven? Is Karlsson a good player? Hell yes. Would he have made another team better? Hell yes. Oh, definitely. But the Penguins did not need what Karlsson brings, just a bad fit. It's a little bit overkill, to be honest with you, because I still don't see it. Are the Penguins going to try to win every game 7-5? Like, you're telling me that this team is going to be able to lock it down in the third period? all of every single game. And again, everybody, if Scott is trying to get in touch with you, Steven, there you go. Scott from BSN. All right. David saying, hold on. I have Anthony who's chiming in for a minute. Okay. But I don't know why he's having technical difficulties at the moment. But David saying, I have not been impressed with Greer as a GM so far. I do kind of wonder exactly what you're really getting at this. You're really telling me you're just traded Erik Karlsson for a first round pick. I do have to say this, David. There's a lot of hoops he had to juggle and he had to jump through. And as far as Mike Greer goes, I don't fault him on it because you had a hefty contract that almost was completely immovable. And then you had to try to facilitate 3 different teams, a broker team, if you will, with Montreal. And I didn't even get into all the other stuff on this because, but again, you're removing defensemen like Jan Ruda, who just signed there and was pretty good. By the way, I'm running on fumes today. I had about 5 hours of sleep. Went out to Hockey Monkey or Monkey Sports, I should say, and met Kyle Palmieri. We're gonna have some giveaways for you guys soon enough on that. Wearing the Eruzione jersey, you know, the most famous goal in American hockey. Second time in NHL history, a reigning Norris Trophy winner has been traded. Anyone know the other? Everybody, here we go. Second time that's happened. That is a great question, Steven. I will try to think about that as soon as I can. Michael is saying, we're not going to know until we see them on the ice. If we learn anything in hockey, that anything can happen and any team can win on any given night. But there is some concern, but we just don't know it yet. I'll tell you one thing. This is definitely a huge, huge concern. And I would wonder about, if you told me Pittsburgh got another defensive defenseman, I also just I don't think Pittsburgh should be throwing their chips all in. I thought they should have moved on from Tristan Jarry and found a different goaltender. But instead, they doubled down on Tristan Jarry, and it's just, it's one of those things. It's one of those things you can't help but say, hey, we got somebody that said, at least one person, 27%, said that Pittsburgh is a playoff team. Absolutely. Who are they knocking out? Let's see about that one. Music is saying Karlsson was great on a terrible Sharks team where he could do whatever he wanted. It'll be bad for the Penguins in the long run. And you know what? Let me highlight that comment right here and just say, boom. Exactly. This is not going to end well for the Penguins. And I'm actually okay with that. Doug Harvey. Wow. From Montreal to the New York Rangers in 1991. All right. And I don't think the Penguins defense is good enough to win every game. 7-5. Their defense is not good enough to win every game. 3-2. Yeah. This is not you can't be excited about this team. I'm sorry. You got Sidney Crosby still playing at an elite level. And look, everybody, I really wanted Anthony to be here and still might get him just to be a naysayer for me. We're going to talk more about this on the Wednesday show, just in case if anybody thinks I'm being too harsh. But I think this team is about to get a lot worse. A lot. Congratulations. Your good power play is going to move up to maybe, I'll say 7th. There's too many injuries. There's not really a net front presence. I mean, Jake Gensel's a great player. I'm not knocking. There's nobody I'm knocking on the Penguins. I don't like the roster construction. And I mean, how's Evgeny Malkin? Is he locked in mentally? Because we all know that he could be there one day and then gone the next and completely invisible. Alon is saying Isles are the 4th best team in the Metro at best. Pens and Caps will fight for 5th. I'm not worried about this acquisition. This was made to appease Crosby in his final seasons. And I agree with you a little bit on that one. I definitely think it was, I'm not sure if it was made to really appease Crosby, but it was definitely made to get everything, like, keep them as a Stanley Cup contender. And that's been a mandate for management. And that's also one of the pressures that Ron Hextall kind of complained about. And this team could have and should have tore it down a long time ago. So, and we're going to have, hey, we might have Philk joining us right now. This team in just a moment. As I just, Philk, I got you muted. Are you ready to go?
Yep.
You ready? Okay. Let me get you in on this. All right. Philk, where are you going right now?
Well, I don't know. I couldn't hear you there. It kind of came in like
Phil,
like
tell everybody where you're heading.
So I'm going to Metallica at MetLife, but I wanted to jump on with you here real quick because I am not driving. So, or Tizzle, aka my right nut, who comments on us all the time, is in the car with me. We're headed to see the Gods of Metal at MetLife. So this trade, Pittsburgh once again somehow gets all of the help in the world to get Erik friggin' Karlsson. What else is new? What else is new? It's insane. I don't understand how this team continues to get break after break after break after break. They give up pieces that they don't even want to hold on to. They were trying to get rid of Granlund for how long? Petrie, just dead weight. Yeah, just And Montreal, what did they get out of that? Like,
they got a second-round pick. That's basically what they got.
Second-round pick to take on Jeff Petrie, who's kind of probably almost as bad as Erik Karlsson's, but just not as bad because of the cap hit. But he's just not really a good defenseman anymore. He's maybe a 4 at best. And Casey DeSmith is just hot garbage. Like, who's I don't know. It just,
I thought Casey Smith was at least solid for the Penguins, though, Phil.
For a backup, he's okay, but is he going to be starting? Who's Montreal's starter at this point?
That's a good question.
I mean, if he's starting, that's bad. That's really bad. That means Montreal's probably going for another lottery pick. But you can't help but like this for Pittsburgh. It's a great trade for them. They give up another first-round pick. Okay. I mean, it just seems like
lost Phil for a second. Hold on. All right. Hopefully, we're going to get Phil back in a second. Again, but the one thing we didn't do is address, did Pittsburgh improve? And I don't know if Pittsburgh improved. They're going to score more goals. They had 263 goals against last year. Oh, I think we got Phil.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, the connection's going to go in and out, so I'll make my part quick here. But it's just another classic Pittsburgh helps. Pittsburgh gets help from everybody else, and they get their guy. Yeah, I think they'll probably end up being a playoff team just because they've got enough top-heavy talent to get them there. But it's another example of just Pittsburgh getting away with murder again. So,
Phil, you must be right next to a cell tower because now you're coming in crispy, just absolutely clear. So don't worry.
Yeah, we are literally on the southern state, like right in front of one. So,
well, Phil, here's my question: Did Pittsburgh actually improve? They were -2 in goals against.
I would say a little bit, but it also it depends on Karlsson. it's like every other year, Karlsson's either healthy or he's not the same player. Like, and are we getting a healthy Erik Karlsson? Because he's one injury away from probably ending his career. He's one major injury away from it. And yeah, not only that, but who is he paired with? Are they separating him and Letang to have one of those two on the ice for 2/3 of the game or more? Because that depends on a lot of things. Not only that, but you talked about it. I think it was Music's said it before. They in San Jose, he was kind of able to just freewheel and do whatever the hell he wanted. Mm-hmm. Now, how is he going to work that in Pittsburgh? I think the points are going to go down a bit. Obviously, he's not scoring 100 points again. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he scores 70 plus points, but his defense in his own zone is going to have to improve. And that's been his Achilles heel for his entire career, whether it's one-on-one or positional play. It's not great. It's not. And I'm not saying he's atrocious, but he's not good in his own zone either. So he's gonna be playing in a pretty tough division with a lot of good forward rosters. So let's see how he handles playing against teams like the Islanders and the Rangers and the Devils and the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes, especially with the Hurricanes, those guys are going to come in. They're going to hit him hard, and they're going to come in waves and just beat him.
And Phil, going into this, you look at Karlsson, minus 26 last year, minus 14 the year before, minus 18, minus 15.
I mean, and I know Karlsson.
All right, a little bit patchy on the connection. We're going to get Phil back in 1 second. But again, all right, so keep on going with your comments. Let's get a couple more. That's rats. Did anybody verify if San Jose wasn't on Hoffman's no trade list? Well, let's ask his wife. No, kidding. I'm kidding. Although wait, by the way, wasn't that's where? Oh no, it was there was a problem with somebody in Ottawa. I'm trying to remember what that was after I made that dumbass comment. Anyway, but this was a good trade for the Sharks, not a bad return. Just got rid of a horrendous contract. No better time to dump him. Yeah. So we lost Filk. Remember the Duchesne trade to Ottawa where they gave up a conditional first. They kept it since it was the 4th overall pick. And then it was Colorado got Byram. Yeah, Bowen Byram. Yeah. And yeah. And that's something, and again, look, as Steven's going on to say that's the risk Pittsburgh has here. Players are regressing after turning 32, which is more likely than not. Half their team is in the 30s. 12. Steven, I got it for you right here. 12 players. 12 players over the age of 30. That's not going to do it. And what? To get slightly better on that power play? They can't keep the puck out of the net. Just absolutely. And by the way, yeah, Alon, we are on different pages because we're trying. Although I should have some help coming soon. I have some reinforcements. I think I might have Anthony coming on at any moment. But this is it. This is just, yeah. Hold on. Let's see what Steven's saying right here. Vegas traded Hoffman to Anaheim only for it to backfire because he never waived his no trade clause, which Anaheim had. I thought that was with Evgeny Dadonov. Yeah, Dadonov, yeah. And that's what happened. San Jose, Hoffman was traded to San Jose. Ottawa refused to trade him within division. Yeah. So, all right. And we have Mr. Anthony Rocco that can help me out with this. Because Anthony, Look, it's been a hell of a day. I got to ask you the first question, which is, are the Pittsburgh Penguins a playoff team again?
I don't know if they're a playoff team because their goaltending is not the best, but Karlsson on Pittsburgh isn't good for anybody. It's not. I think too much is made of him being a bad defenseman defensively. Sure, he's not Jacob Slavin, but the way he controls the puck, it's his way of playing defense. The Penguins are gonna possess the puck more. And when you talk about the power play, playing with the talented guys that he's going to be playing with, like Crosby and Malkin and Gensel, it's going to make the Penguins a much better team offensively. So it's not good. Not happy about it. But kudos to Kyle Dubas for pulling off the trade.
Anthony, is this really a defense that excites you, or the one that gives you caution?
I mean, no. I mean, P.O. Joseph isn't really good defensively. He's more of a puck mover. Chad Rudwheel, I mean, he's a good depth six guy. Pettersson's solid. I'm not sold on Ryan Graves. I mean, he's not bad, but he's not a top pairing defenseman. Chris Letang is getting older, but I mean, overall, it's not terrible. Like I said, they're not going to be known for their defense, but as I said, they still have a bad goaltending. But Karlsson's going to make Penguins a much better team offensively, and don't discount that. He's a really good player, and like I said, he moves the puck really well. Again, he's not a shutdown guy by any means, but his style of play, how he possesses the puck, that's the way he really defends, by maintaining the puck and keeping away from other teams. So he's going to make Pittsburgh better for sure.
All right. So which teams in the Metro should be really worried about this?
I mean, Washington, because I think the Penguins and Capitals are those two teams that are going to still hold on and try to compete for a playoff spot. But I think Karlsson, addition makes them a little more dangerous than the Capitals. Now, again, I don't think that the Penguins are bumping any of the like the Rangers, Devils, even the Islanders out of a playoff spot. Because again, I go back to their goaltending, still not good. But they may win their fair share of 6-5 games.
I mean, Anthony, I just keep looking at Pittsburgh's. I keep bringing this up, whether or not people, you want to correct me, go ahead, put it in the comments. Am I an idiot? But they're -2 in goal differential. I don't look at those goaltending. Now you got a goaltending tandem of Alex Nedeljkovic and Tristan Jarry. And Jarry's going to get injured because he does every year. Alex Nedeljkovic is going to be able to step in the crease and keep this team afloat?
I mean, if Nedeljkovic can replicate how he played when he first came on the scene with Carolina, where I think he had like a 919 save percentage or something along those lines.
Outstanding first season.
Yeah. Then maybe the Penguins, can have that hope. But if he plays the way he did the last 2 years, it's not going to be good because, he was real bad. So,
to say the least.
Yeah.
I mean, I had him in fantasy, and he lost me a lot of games. So I guess one more question before we just kind of broaden this out, take some comments again. Anthony, is this the last gasp of the Crosby era?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Dubas made this trade because he's trying to utilize the last remaining, sliver of hope the Penguins have of winning a cup, while Crosby, Malkin, Letang really still all have, I guess if you want to say top levels of play left. I think that's what he's going for. And, if they don't win the cup, this year or next year, it may eventually be looked at as a, actually, you know what? I'm not even going to say it's going to be looked at as a poor move because they didn't give up much. They gave up a first and a second. They didn't give up any top prospects. So honestly, I take back what I was.
Well, they don't have any top prospects.
Well, I mean, Owen Pickering and Samuel Poulin, they kept both those guys. They kept Marcus Pettersson, who's probably the best defensive defenseman they have. They kept all those guys. So even if they don't win, would they give up? two guys in Petrie and Granlund that they were desperate to get rid of. I mean, come on.
Jan Ruda.
This is really a no lose trade for him. It really is. They didn't give up. They gave up nothing.
All right, and I'll bite on that because let's go back to where the Penguins were because I went over to just to look at what they got. They lost another first round pick. There's a conditional first round pick that they could get that they could lose again next year. So they might not have draft picks for 2024 and 2025. No second round pick next year. No third round. Sorry, 2 years. No third round pick next year. And is this team going to be able to restock the cupboard in any way?
I mean, there's ways of doing it. If they really fall off a cliff this year, let me think about it like this. Jake Gensel's a pending UFA next year. So if he doesn't sign an extension, let's say the Penguins are maybe bad, maybe Dubas makes a decision to try to retool, and you move a guy like him, you're going to get a boatload. If you were to move Marcus Pettersson, they'll get some assets. So there's things they could do if things don't go well to get younger or get more assets. And Kyle Dubas for yes, he didn't win in Toronto, and he maybe did some questionable things. Maybe he held on to the big four too long. But he's a good general manager. I mean, he knows what he's doing.
I do want to note that Jeff Carter does come off the books.
Mark, take off your
Jeff
shirt.
Carter goes off the books next year. Thank you very much. Go Palms.
Take it off, Mark.
I can't. I got a Ruzioni on. Gotta come with the USA. That I was repping that this morning. But it's just, I look at this team and I'm not confident on this. And yeah, I'm kind of doing my Mark flip out a little bit, but it's just, I don't think they're going to keep the puck out of the net, and that's their number one problem. And Erik Karlsson's not going to help you with that. That's what they should have been doing. They should have been addressing how they're going to be keeping the puck out of their own net. Now, again, line combinations. They got Noel Achari, who's a good fourth line guy. They got Lars Eller, who's a good third line center. Yeah. But he's even getting up there in years. I
remember though, again, they're gonna be missing their best goal scorer for probably till after Halloween, and Jake Gensel.
Yeah, Jake Gensel, hell of a player. And look, so that means Brian Rust then has to step in and fill Gensel's role, which is fine. Brian Rust could do it.
But don't forget they also added Riley Smith too.
Yeah. Who's another guy that's getting a little bit long in the tooth, 32 years old. So, I mean, I'll rip guys on their ages, but I'm not trying to play NHL hockey. Well, the problem is that I golf too much. That's one story. It's just well, let's take a couple more comments on this.
They really should have done is they should have used assets to get John Gibson, but the problem with that is Gibson would have required real assets like Pickering and Poulin. But that's what they should have spent their assets in a goaltender.
All right, John is saying great trade by Dubas.
It is a good trade.
All right, see, John, this is the reason why I make sure that there's somebody on me. I don't like this trade from the roster building perspective, but as far as the trade goes, I think you're right. I think this is a good trade. Like they didn't give up anything. Mark's got a barrel chest. Good for good for slamming people into the boards.
Brandon, the problem is the goaltending. Tristan Jarry is a bad goaltender.
Especially playoffs.
Which one of the teams? I tell you, the Rangers aren't missing the playoffs with Igor Shesterkin. The Islanders aren't missing the playoffs with Ilya Sorokin. It's likely just not going to happen. And then from there, I mean, the Devils are too explosive and young and fast. So, could they push out a wild card team like Florida? I mean, yeah, it's possible, but there are just so many teams that are better defensively and in the net than them that I don't think it's a lock. I don't. I know you disagree, but there's a lot of other teams that the goaltending is just so much better than.
Brandon asked right over here, are they a cup contender? Maybe. Are they a playoff team? Yes. Here's the thing. We talked about this for a while, and everybody's darling this year is any of the teams that are in the Atlantic, whether it's Buffalo, Detroit, Ottawa. That's all the things that everybody always wants to talk about with them. Are the Penguins really screaming that this is a team that couldn't beat the Chicago Blackhawks last year in the last week of the season?
And again, that was because Tristan Jarry fell apart at the end of the game. He let in 2 horrendous goals that pretty much deal.
Look, we're not trying to slam Pittsburgh, and we're certainly not trying to say that they don't have. Sidney Crosby is still playing at an MVP level. It's just when it comes to this, I think Pittsburgh would have been better trying to do a soft rebuild. Oh, he's actually asking this, and I don't think it's a bad point. Did they actually want to beat Chicago?
I mean, yeah, if they missed the playoffs, maybe they would have been. Well, they did miss the playoffs. They still didn't win the lottery, so I don't. I don't. I mean, the slim chance that they could have got Bedard, I highly doubt it. I think that
there's the slightest chance that you're not, and players aren't playing for Connor Bedard in their season. They're playing. Oh, all right. That's what Brandon's saying. All right, I get it. What Brandon's saying by that is if Pittsburgh beat Chicago, Hextall is still in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, maybe that's.
But you're not thinking about getting your boss fired at that moment either. You're just thinking about trying to win a game. Because what happens if let me play devil's advocate with you on this. What happens if they end up keeping Brian Burke and Ron Hextall and firing Mike Sullivan and he's the scapegoat? You don't want to. You never want to risk that because again, Mike Sullivan's done a hell of a job with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and it's just again, I'm not confident about Alex Nedeljkovic. It's having to take a lot of games for this team. Yes, we're going to get to that one as well.
That was a good deal. That was
a great deal.
So now they added Dumba, Drizly, Kerfoot, Zucker. They're Logan Cooley. Arizona's going to compete.
I think Arizona's going to be a lot better than what people think, and I think the Mullet Arena effect is going to be a real thing. Let me go back to what Alon's saying right here. Off topic, how much would Boston give us for JGP, or is he now untouchable with AD gone?
With who gone?
AD. I have no idea who AD is. So I was hoping you did.
AD.
Alon, who's AD? JGP is easy.
I mean,
Alex DeBrincat.
Yeah. No, I don't think he's untouchable.
No, and he's certainly not untouchable.
Boston needs help at center. I mean, Zach had a career year. He's never been a 50-point guy. Is he really going to replicate that? You're left with Charlie Coyle, Morgan Geeky as your centers. So, I mean, if Boston, let's say at this point in the offseason, well, then again, Erik Karlsson was just traded today in August, so who knows? But typically, you're not going to get an elite center at this point of the year. So, if you're not going to get a guy like Elias Lindholm or Mark Scheifele, I mean, why not just try to do center by committee and just have a bunch of just, solid centers? So, yeah, you could do Pajot, Zaka, and Coyle at center ice, and in exchange, just get DeBrusk. They would have to add to it, though. I mean, in theory, it would work, but Boston might just go into the year what they have and see what transpires. If they could, compete, and then maybe at the deadline you add Mark Scheifele, who's probably going to be dealt. He's got 1 year left. I don't think he's staying in Winnipeg.
I'd be shocked if he's not dealt earlier, Anthony.
I don't. At this point in time, I don't see it. I think he's there to the deadline, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, Well, I mean, I'm just saying because even though like early season trades don't happen as much anymore, it's just I just don't see Winnipeg really doing it. And we're gonna get Anthony right back on in a second. Brandon, it's an interesting take what you had over there. I still don't think players. The thing is, for us fans, we could think like stuff like that, like, oh well, if X happens, they're really thinking about trying to go for Connor Bedard. And as far as it goes, coaches coach to win games, players play to win games. It's just that simple. I mean, not everybody is trying to tank whatsoever or at all. I think if you ever have that permeating through your organization, no good will ever come from that. And it's not good. You don't want that in your organization. Get that rot out of it. All right. We did mention it. Granny was mentioned it before. Matt Dumba, Elliot Friedman says he goes to the Arizona Coyotes for $4 million. If Matt Dumba could get back to half as good as what he was the previous year, not last season, great deal for the Coyotes. And it's even a great deal if he could do a 1-year prove it deal, build up his stock the way Shane Gostisbehere did. That's a good thing. All right. I'm gonna go for about another 5 more minutes, everybody. I want to get what your takes are. Am I the one that's wrong? Am I the one that's wrong? Anthony's right about this. And so is Philk. And even, you know what? So is Johnny. Johnny was saying it on here. The Penguins fan that was, John. He was saying great trade by Dubas. Yeah, Dubas pulled off a great trade. I still don't see where it's going to help them win. That's the reason why I would have. I mean, I don't know. I think they're going to be giving up more goals. David is saying Mark has got the type of chest where he blinds people. Brandon was saying the worst Penguins team in years misses the playoffs by 1 game. The discussion is whether or not they're a playoff team. Well, because again, here's the thing. This is where Anthony highlighted this. I think the reason why I'm thinking like that is because I've seen the decline of the Penguins for the last few years, and excluding 2018 and excluding 2018, since 2015, 2016, if they won a playoff series, they won a Stanley Cup. And that's just excluding 2018. But I mean, you're talking about a team that's underachieved to the Montreal Canadiens in the bubble. Well, you could say it's the bubble, fine. That's it on that. But they lost to the New York Rangers that they were on their knees, and they led in the third period in every single one of the closeout games, and by 2 goals in games 5 and game 6, and they couldn't close the deal. And it's just that, and again, they could have done a soft rebuild and got this team back to a Stanley Cup contender. I don't see it with this. Instead, they're doubling down, they're tripling down. They're right now, if you ask me what the personification is of the Pittsburgh Penguins, it's like a friend walking up to you to go, yo, do you have any more of those offensive defensemen? I don't see it. And you know what? The league is better with the Penguins when they're good. Willie's saying, just not a fan of having 2 injury-prone defensemen who do the same thing. Yeah. And by the way, we hope Chris Letang is 100% healthy. Just want to get that through out there. Jay is saying the Penguins still miss the playoffs. They get better on the power play. They don't get better defensively, which is a big need for them. Bad gamble, in my opinion. David is saying, are the Penguins better today? Yes. Are they better than the top 3 or 4 teams in the Metro? Probably not. And I think the thing about, and I've said this before, and correct me if I'm wrong on this philosophy, feel free to do that. But if that's the case, if you're looking at this going, they're going to score more goals. Great. How are they keeping those goals out of the net? And again, I'm saying this because I have no faith in Tristan Jarry, especially the second half of the season. He's been an all-star. And the guy's an all-star goalie. Yeah, great. So is Cam Talbot. All right. Alon is saying, love what AZ has done this offseason. Isles had one of the worst 5 off seasons with no top line winger with Barzell and Morana contract extensions minus Sorokin. Sometimes the best thing is not to say anything at all. David is saying the Pens have lost. Pens have lost because of Laugh taking off his helmet. That's the only reason why they lost. Oh, and the penalty on Rodriguez and whatever other excuses. Yeah, I know. You're going to hear about that all the time. You're going to hear about that. But by the way, it all happened with this in a span of 2 seconds, and the puck was in the back of the net. There's always the excuse. That's the only reason why they lost. They would have coughed up the goal in another 2 minutes anyway. Actually, David, a great metaphor for that is my brother said, I pointed out that in the 1992 playoffs, 1992 AFC divisional playoffs, the famous Houston Oilers collapse against the Buffalo Bills. I pointed out the Don Beebe touchdown. He steps out of bounds. And with there being so much momentum, my brother looks at me and goes, Mark, they would have scored on the next play. Don't worry about it. And I agree with you on that because that's what would have happened on this. The Rangers were coming. The Penguins are not handling it well. And Tristan Jarry gives up soft goals. Sunsets in the East, Tristan Jarry gives up a soft goal to lose the playoff series. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. So anyway, Tom Wilson is overpaid now. I don't like that contract. I don't think it lends well to his age, but it is rewarding your own player for what they did in the past. Willie is saying unless the cap goes up. So hey, look, if the Penguins make the playoffs, I will gladly. If the Penguins make the playoffs next year, I'll gladly have an autographed like Sidney Crosby memorabilia strictly for Penguins fans. Let me say it like that. But although we might do that anyway one day for everybody, because we're not just for the New York teams. But this is everybody. What do you think about the deal? 54% is saying that the Penguins are not a playoff team. That is a lot higher than I thought it was going to be. Everybody, thanks for joining in on this. I broke it down. There's 12. The Penguins are going to be too old. That's a big concern. It's a big concern. You're talking about a league that keeps getting younger and faster. And go back and look at the big goals in that series. Letang was a better screen than Kreider could be. Yep. But then again, look. Shesterkin definitely wasn't himself the first 3 games. We know this. Jake Gensel was on fire in those first 4 games. We know that. But I mean, the Penguins should, honestly, you could say the Penguins should have won that series. You could also say the Rangers should have won that series a lot faster. Don't forget the Capo Caco interference call was not a good thing. And then you're talking about a 2-2 series going back to the Garden. And that series had so many different storylines. Look, if Penguins fans, if I angered you today, I'm sorry. That's my take. This team is not ready. This team is not going to compete. It's good trade. Good trade. You got Erik Karlsson, another superstar. What everybody needs. Superstars are like hot sauce. You just dab it on if there's not enough flavor in there. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Alon was saying Wilson at $6.5 million in 4 to 6 years, or Lee at $7 million in 5 to 7 years. Which one is worse? You still got 28 goals a season from Anders Lee, and you got some production. However, I understand what you're saying, and I don't know which one. And 6.5 for 6 years. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what Tom Wilson's going to be. I'm not in love with that deal. All right, guys. So gonna start playing the music to get us out of here. I'll take about a couple more comments. I know I probably angered fans. And also, yeah. The Penguins are going to be going into a massive valley soon. A massive valley. And this is a decline that's been happening a lot over the last few years. And I don't think it's going to get better. And yeah, my confidence in them has been very much shaken, especially ever since losing the Islanders in the first round in 2021. But, I mean, 2022, don't forget this team got shellacked by the Rangers in back-to-back games in March when they were trying to make the playoffs. Erik Karlsson isn't going to just fix all that. All right. David was saying San Jose in this trade gave up the best player, took out some salary, and all they got was a late first. It was definitely a bad trade for them. We're going to see about that because, you know what? How about this? Let me run this scenario by you. San Jose, this is a top 10 predicted. So it ends up going to next year. And let's say the Penguins really go in the tank next year. Like, they just aren't a good team. And great trade for them. You don't know how it's going to end up yet. And that's why I got to hope for the first. Because I would say with the Karlsson trade going to Ottawa and also the Matt Duchene trade going to, I should say, from Ottawa, the Karlsson trade, and the Matt Duchene trade going to Ottawa, that your first thought is, wow, that's all it was. And now look at that trade. Everybody is looking at that trade thinking it's the most brilliant trade ever. I mean, just look at the Rangers with the trades for Rick Nash and the one for Ryan McDonough. The Ryan McDonough one looks like they got nothing. And Ryan McDonough and JT Miller. And they got nothing back. As opposed to, say, the Rick Nash trade, which looks like a complete bargain because he got Ryan Lindgren, Ryan Spooner, it became Ryan Strome, regardless of what I say about the fact that he can't hit an empty net. And yeah. All right, well, we're at 57 minutes right now, guys. Thank you very much for joining us today. A lot of technical difficulties going back and forth because I had to start up, unfortunately, without Anthony. I thank every single Pittsburgh fan for getting on here today because you're coming into the Lions Den, but we're not against you. We're just here to talk hockey. That's all we're here to do. And the other thing is, I mean, this was just an impromptu thing, so there's a lot of ripping on my part. So everybody, thanks for joining. We're going to be talking about this a lot more with Philk, but I'm sorry, Pittsburgh fans. I can't help but look at this trade and think Philk going to go see Metallica tonight at MetLife, and Kyle Dubas is king nothing. Let's not forget that. The guy's been a GM for 10 years or whatever, like 6 or 7, and he's got one playoff series won. Quick, give him the GM of the Year award. All right. Strome is at least still in the NHL. Yeah. Well, again, and I wasn't the biggest fan of Strome. Willie's saying, let's go Rangers. So this week, we're still hoping to try to get Neil Smith on at some point, and we're looking to get Jim Dowd on as soon as possible as well. Pride of Brick, New Jersey, and former Stanley Cup champion. So there's a lot of things that are going on, and we're trying to make more moves. So by the way, if you want to in the comments, Penguins fans, go ahead, roast me in the comments, because I mean, look, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm not gonna be. So as the song is saying, everybody, goodbye. Time to go. Thank you very much for joining us, and I will see you Wednesday nights.